Some stories just feel like they were written for Hollywood, right? We're talking about incredible talent, a fall from grace that is just catastrophic, and then a comeback so monumental you can barely believe it's real. Well, this is one of those stories.
Just let that sink in for a moment. We have used them all. A judge said that, not to some career criminal, but to one of the most talented actors of his generation. I mean, can you imagine? That's it. A moment of pure, total finality. A career, a whole life, just slamming into a brick wall.
Yep, you heard that right. An Oscar-nominated, celebrated star, sentenced to 3 years in state prison. And the question on everyone's mind, from Hollywood execs to fans around the world, was just how? How in the world did it get this bad? So let's be clear, this wasn't just some slip-up or PR nightmare you could spin your way out of. No, for Robert Downey Jr., this was the definition of rock bottom, a complete, total, public collapse. So the big question is, how does a star that bright fall so far? Well, it wasn't a sudden drop off a cliff. Not at all. This was a long, slow spiral down, and its roots go way, way back. All the way to when he was just a kid. Okay, so to really get what happened, we've got to rewind all the way back to his childhood, because that's where the seeds of this whole struggle were planted, and honestly, in a way that is just shocking.
I mean, just process that for a second. 6 years old. His own father, who was in the industry too, introduced him to marijuana. He later tried to explain it away as some kind of twisted way of showing love, but the reality, it kick-started a pattern of addiction that would basically define the next 30 years of his life.
And what's so wild, and honestly so tragic when you look at this, is how his addiction grew right alongside his fame. It's like 2 lines on a graph going up at the same time. As Hollywood was falling in love with him in the 80s and 90s, he was going deeper and deeper, from pot to cocaine and then to heroin. And this is where it gets crazy. His own life started to look exactly like his breakout role, the charismatic addict in Less Than Zero. It's a performance that, looking back, feels less like acting and more like a documentary. And this period, from 96 to 2001, man, it was just a vortex of chaos. You can see it right here. It's just this relentless, brutal cycle. Rehab, relapse, arrest, repeat. He's losing jobs. He's burning every bridge he has. He kept getting chances, but he just could not break free from that spiral. And that is what landed him in front of that judge in 1999. But then, after all the chaos, after another relapse, something finally clicked in 2003. And the moment that changed everything? It didn't happen in a fancy rehab center or a therapist's office. Nope, it happened at a Burger King. So just try to picture this scene, okay? You've got one of the most famous faces on the planet driving down the Pacific Coast Highway. His car is literally full of drugs, and he pulls over for a burger. I mean, it's such a normal, everyday moment, but it's about to become the most important moment of his life. It honestly sounds like something out of a movie script, right? A bad cheeseburger saves your life. But that's the thing about hitting rock bottom. It's usually not some big, dramatic lightning strike. It's a small, quiet moment of just absolute clarity. For him, that disgusting burger was a wake-up call. It became a symbol for how disgusted he was with himself and his life. It just cut through all the noise and the denial, and he had this one terrifying thought. My life is as cheap and worthless as this burger, and if I don't change right now, it's over. And that's exactly what he did. He drove straight to the ocean and threw all of it, all the drugs, into the water. Done. That was the moment. The decision was made, the old chapter was closed, and the new one, the really, really hard one, was just beginning. Okay, so making that decision is huge, right? But as anyone who's been through it knows, that's just the first step. Sticking with it, that's the real battle. Getting sober wasn't just a one-time thing. It was something he had to build from the ground up, brick by brick, every single day. And here's the key thing. He knew he couldn't do it alone. That big decision was his, but the recovery, that took a village. The absolute bedrock was his wife, Susan, and friends who stuck by him. He went all in on therapy and 12-step programs, and he basically swapped the chaos of addiction for the discipline of things like yoga, meditation, and even kung fu. It was all about rebuilding himself, mind and body. So once he started to get his personal life back on solid ground, the stage was set. And what came next? Well, a lot of people call it the single greatest comeback story in the history of Hollywood. I mean, just look at this. It really says it all. You go from a guy who was literally uninsurable, studios wouldn't touch him because he was such a risk, to being one of the highest paid actors on the planet. He went from being a total liability to being the guy who anchored the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe as Iron Man. Think about that. He wasn't just in the MCU, he launched it.
And if you want to put a number on that success, how about $75 million? That was his reported paycheck for one movie, Avengers Endgame. That's the journey, from unemployable to a $75 million paycheck. Just incredible. But you know what? All the money in the world doesn't matter as much as this next number, 20 plus. Over 20 years of sobriety. That's the real victory here. That's the foundation that everything else, the career, the Oscar, the money, is built on. It all comes back to that sustained commitment he's made every day since that moment at Burger King. And in 2024, the whole journey just came perfectly full circle. He was nominated for an Oscar way back before the fall for playing Charlie Chaplin. And then, decades later, there he is, back on that same stage, this time winning for Oppenheimer. It was so much more than just a statue, right? It was the ultimate validation, the ultimate symbol that he had truly come all the way back. So, when you look at the whole picture, from a prison cell to the Oscar stage, is this the ultimate comeback story? It's a story that proves you can hit absolute rock bottom and not just climb back, but climb to a place that's even higher than before. It really makes you think, doesn't it? About resilience, about redemption, and about just how powerful a second act can truly be.